Morning, Marcy.
Good morning. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, thank you.
Yeah, how's it going?
Did I hear that you say that you're in Norfolk, Virginia?
West Virginia, yeah.
Yeah,
Virginia Beach.
So you're at least in the same time zone.
Yeah, this
Good.
week.
Baruch Hashem. Where in Virginia again?
Virginia Beach. I'm at the JCC.
Mm-hmm. You could write a book about Jewish life in America.
I can. I've thought about it. Very interesting. I've seen the shifts, the ups, the downs. Yeah, really, very interesting.
Hmm. I guess by the nature of what you do, you're seeing some positive aspects because whoever it is, they're interested in growing and doing something.
Or at least preserving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I started attending a kollel here in Boca Raton, which is near my home.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a group. It's a Chofetz, I think it's a Chofetz Chaim type of group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly where they're all from, but that's the feeling you get. Nice group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen. I mean, they're definitely once they get going, their commitment is very solid and very good.
Mm-hmm.
Baruch Hashem.
But I miss the face-to-face.
Yeah, that's the only thing, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard, as you see, even when you said good morning, if you're not on to go and find the button and to press it on, to get on, the half the conversations passed you by.
Yeah. And sometimes the microphones are good and often they're not.
Yeah.
All right. Hello.
Hey, you hear me?
Good morning. Now we hear you.
Okay.
And you are?
Gosh, you look very young. What happened, Rabbi?
Levi Smith.
Lady, I'm mode.
Okay, thank you all for coming. We'll begin now. You have to thank Hashem for allowing us to learn Torah. The Mishnah on Chavav Amud Aleph. It's 26a. Hakesiv Tefse Gittin. Thank you. One that writes the Tefis of Gittin. The Tefis means anything that is that keeps on being repeated in every single get has these stuff. So tzarech she'aniach, he needs to leave empty the makim ha'ish, the place of the man, which is specific to a certain person, umakim ha'isha, place of the woman, umakim hazman, and the place of the time. That's about a get. Shtare milveh, documents of a loan. Tzarech she'aniach, he needs to leave empty makim hamalveh, the place of the lender. Makim haleiva, the place of the borrower. Makim hamois, the place of the money. Makim hazman, the place of the time. Shtari mekach, the documents of a sale, a purchase. Tzarech she'aniach, he needs to leave empty. the makim halekeach, the place of the buyer, umakim hamecher, the place of the seller, makim hamois, the place of the money, makim hasada, the place of the field, umakim hazman, and the place of the time. And all of this is mipnei takana, because of the takana. The rabbis made a takana for the Gemara is going to explain that in order for the scribe to be able to write a lot of documents, he needs to be allowed to do it in advance. So if he's allowed to do it some parts in advance, he's able to write more documents. The Gemara is going to explain why it's necessary to be able to do it quickly. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Pesa Bekula, and Rabbi Yehuda says all of these are possible. Since he wrote some of the get not in the proper time, not in the time that the actual person came, so they're all possible, every single one.
There's no issue with lishma there.
According to Rabbi Yehuda, yeah, it has to be, even that part has to be lishma, right? Rabbi Elazar Machshir Bekulam. Rabbi Elazar says they're all kosher. Says that they're all kosher, just like the Tanakama, except for chutz mi Gittin Noshim, except for the gittim of women. Shenemar, like it says, v'kasav la lishma, and he writes to her, and la is specific to her, lishma, for her sake. So what do I see from here? So there's a three-way machlekes. Tanakama says that in every single document that exists in the world, you're allowed to pull off this early stunt of making all the non-important stuff before. Rabbi Yehuda says all of that stuff is not allowed. It has to all be done on the spot, spontaneous. Rabbi Elazar says it all works besides for the get, because the pasuk says by a get because of law. Okay. Yeah, we're just starting the mission, the Gemara now.
Rabbi Elazar says it's all valid except for that.
Exactly.
And then Rabbi Yehuda.
Oh, we'll see. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, says the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda says, in the name of Shmuel, tzarich she'aniach, he needs to leave empty af makim, even the place of hari at muteres l'chol adam. Behold, you are permitted to the whole world. That's in the get. That part also has to be left empty before the actual. If he's writing it before he's giving it to the husband and wife, it has to be done only by that time. Rabbi Elazar, he and Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel's statement is because the Mishnah, the Tanakam of our Mishnah is Rabbi Elazar. The Amar that says Edim Mesira Karati, the Edim of the passing, the witnesses that see the passing from the husband to the wife of the get, Karati, they are the ones, those Edim, they're the ones that make the get valid. Karati means to cut off, they're the ones that cut off from husband to wife. Ubi'inan, and we need ksiva lishma, we need the writing to be for the sake of the woman, and therefore says Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, this part of Hariat Muteres L'chol Adam, which is a necessary part in the cutting off, also has to be done lishma. Okay. Now the Tanakama of the first Tana of our Mishnah is, we're saying over here, it's Rabbi Elazar. Okay. Now the next piece, we're gonna have to go a little back and forth in the previous Gemaras. Utsricha, this statement of Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel is necessary. It's necessary. If I just learn hafkamaisa, the first case, I think we're gonna have to turn to page Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, which is 21b. Okay, by the Mishnah. Okay, does everyone have it? Mas Nisin says the Mishnah. The first two lines of the Mishnah. In case you may not write if it's attached to the ground. Kasvei b'mechubar, meaning a get. Not allowed to write a get if it's still attached. Kasvei b'mechubar, if he first wrote it while it was attached. Talshay, then he uprooted it. V'chasmai, and he signed it. V'nosnei and gave it to her kosher. You got it signed by Edom, obviously, and the get is kosher. Please don't turn back. We still need some Gemara over here. If he gives it to her after it was, if he wrote it, if he did the main part after it was uprooted, it's kosher. Says the Gemara, skip to the end of the Mishnah, says the Gemara, Kasvai al mechubar, if he wrote it on what was attached to the ground, is that okay? So the Mishnah says two opposites. You're entirely not allowed to uproot it, to write it while it's still attached. V'ha'amrit reisha, says the reisha, in kaisvin, you may not write at all. So on the one hand, we're not letting it at all. On the other hand, if he did do it, we'll let him get away with it. The answer is Rabbi Yomi Shmuel, v'hu shashir makim ha'teiref. That is, if he left off the place of the teiref, of the important part. And what is the reason? If you want to skip a few lines, till line starts makim, v'hu shashir makim ha'teiref. Rabbi Elazar, it's Rabbi Elazar that says edim misira karti. It says the edim of the passing is able to cut off.
So in this case, it would be mutar to write a get while it's attached because the whole thing wasn't written all at once. It was unfinished.
Right.
So then it was detached, and then it says here, not in bold. So
right. So that's the explanation for this. Now we're going to turn another page to another statement of Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. This time it's page 22b, or Chaf Beis Amud Beis, by the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, we're going to read the whole Mishnah. Everyone is permitted, is kosher to write the get. Even a cheresh is a deaf mute, someone that's both deaf and a mute. Shaita is someone that's not 100% sane. The katan and the katan are permitted to write a get. That's an amazing thing. The Gemara is going to explain. Further, Ha'isha Kesevet says, Gita, the woman can write her own get. Ha'ish Kesevet Shevre, the man can write the document stating that the ksuba was already paid to him, which really the wife is the one that should be doing that. She'ein kiyam get el b'chaismav, because the verification of the get is only with the signers. Okay, now skip to 23a, or Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph, in the middle of the page. The line starts with Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. There's a smack in the middle of the page. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel says, Rabbi Yehuda Amar, in the name of Shmuel, v'hu shashir makim ha'teiref. That's only when is a cheresh sheita v'katan allowed to do that, to write the get. That's only when he leaves the place of the important parts for someone that's actually capable. In the name of Ula, that's only if he leaves the place of the teiref empty. Rabbi Elazar, and it's Rabbi Elazar. That's the reason, because Rabbi Elazar says the edim of the mesira, of the passing karti, are suffice. Now turn back to where we're holding in the Gemara. Now we're going to understand it. So why edim mesira karti? Basically, the way it works, if the edim of the passing are the ones in charge, then the actual get has to be an actual get. They have to be passing a get, not a piece of paper saying a bank statement. Okay, so we are holding, the line starts lishma. Utsricha. I'm gonna go back one line. Utsricha, the line starts lishma, utsricha. It's needed. Why is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel necessary? Di ashminan hachkamaisa. If I just learned, if I learned or I heard hachkamaisa, the original, the first Mishnah that we taught, Bihahi, in that first Mishnah, hu diika leukma ki Rabbi Elazar. We're able to establish it like Rabbi Elazar. Why? What did the first Mishnah say? You recall the Katani that it taught in kaisvin, that you may not write at all. Vikatani, then it taught kasavu, if they ended up writing it. So what does this show? This shows that it's probably in kaisvin, you're not allowed to write the the non-important stuff, because maybe you'll write the important stuff before it's removed from the ground. Makes sense. It's Rabbi Elazar.
What exactly are the important?
The Tairif is the name of the woman, the name of the man, things that are exclusive to this divorce. That's the important stuff. The Taifis are the things that are not exclusive to this divorce. They're written on every single get.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's mutter to make like these templates and everything.
Yeah. According to Rabbi Elazar.
Well, just
According to
saying,
one opinion,
oh,
Rabbi
yeah.
Yehuda, it doesn't work. Right? Okay. The line starts Kaisvin in my Gemara, Aval Seifa, but the end of that Mishnah, which is really the next Mishnah and the middle Mishnah that we learned together. The Ketani, what did it say over there that it taught? She'ein kiyum haget ele b'chaisma, that the only verification of the get is only with the signers. Ema, I'll say Rabbi Meir. Who's the author of that Mishnah? It's Rabbi Meir, not Rabbi Elazar. The Omar that says, Eidei Chasima Karti, the verifiers, the Edim of the signing, Karti are the ones that make the get a valid get. Because he says the only verification of the get is with the signers.
Yeah, I think there was.
So that would be against Rabbi Elazar. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel needs to tell me that it is Rabbi Elazar. So Eidei Chasima Karti means that since the signers are the only necessary ones, you could even write the entire Tairif. All the important things you're allowed to write before the actual giving of the get, according to Rabbi Meir, as long as the two people that signed it are signing it for the sake of this particular divorce. Okay. Now, if I learned only Behahi refers to the first Mishnah. Further in the Gemara, if I learned only in Behahi, Hahi Nami, that the first Mishnah also, Ikaluk Mak Rabbi Elazar. There is to establish it like Rabbi Elazar. Why? It made sense over there. Line starts Hahi. Aval ha, but our Mishnah, this Mishnah, Ema I'll say, we never mentioned this Mishnah in the Gemara yet. Ema I'll say, me the Sefer Rabbi Elazar, from the fact that the last opinion of our Mishnah is Rabbi Elazar, Havireishel av Rabbi Elazar. So the first part of the Mishnah is not Rabbi Elazar. So therefore, it's needed. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel is necessary over here to tell me that even the first part of the Mishnah that has no name, and I would think Stam Mishnah is Rabbi Meir, is actually Rabbi Elazar. And what does it mean? Rabbi Elazar is arguing on himself. It means that there's two Tanoim that are speaking about what they think Rabbi Elazar's opinion really is. Obviously, two later Tanoim, not earlier. Okay.
I think earlier we learned that there was another opinion that the writing of the get and the delivery were the important sections, and then it seems
Right.
like
That was another
one. Saying that just the signing.
Rabbi Elazar?
Yeah.
It was Rabbi Meir. So, basically, a recap of this sugya is that Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel is necessary to tell me that the Mishnah is Rabbi Elazar that says the Edim of the passing are the ones that are good, and the reason why Edim Mesira is Karti is because the actual document is a good document. And that's the explanation to why you have to leave out the Makim Ha'ish, etc. Says the new Gemara by the two doubts, Mipnei Takana, because of Takana, line starts Trichat, because of the Takana of the Chachamim. My Takana, what was the Takana? Meaning, what was the reason that they made this able to happen? Rabbi Yonasan, says Rabbi Yonasan, Mipnei Takana Sefer, because of the Takana of the Sefer. That means to make it easier for the Sefer to write a lot of documents. Okay. Rabbi Elazar, and the author is Rabbi Elazar. The Amar Edim Mesira Karti, that says the Edim of the passing are enough. Okay, so we have someone else saying that the Mishnah is Rabbi Elazar. Nice. Ubedinhu, and it is logical. It makes sense. The afilu tefis nami leiliftev, that even the tefis, even the non-important stuff that are in every single get, nami leiliftev, he also shouldn't be allowed to write it. Why is he allowed to write it? According to the Tanakama of our Mishnah, Umishum taikona seifrim, because of this, the taikon of the seifrim, the solution that the rabbis made for the seifrim. Sharu rabbanon, sharu, they permitted. Rabbanon, the rabbis permitted. Okay, now that's the reason for this takana. That's because of the takana seifrim is the reason for the Tanakama. Now, about the machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Elazar, let's see. That explains only the first opinion of the Tanakama, but the later two opinions we're going to explain now. Rabbi Yehuda line starts Rabbanan. Rabbi Yehuda B'Kula, and Rabbi Yehuda says they're all possible. Why? Gazar tefes atu teref. He made a decree that the tefes, the stuff that are in every get, is there's a decree about that atu teref, because of teref, because of the important stuff that are only found in the specific get. So there's a decree that the teref, the teref has to be written only for the sake of the people. Teref means the names and the
essential parts.
Right. So the teref is very, very important to be written on the spot. But the tefis is not. But there's a decree. The tefis is now being treated just like the teref because of the decree, according to Rabbi Yehuda. And another thing, that's one thing he made a decree. Now also, those are shtares atu gittin. He made a decree about the shtar, a regular document of either a loan or a sale, is now also being decreed atu gittin because of gittin. Gittin has a pasuk, we said earlier, v'kasav la lishma, and he writes for her sake, it has to be lishma. So the actual gittin is only a gzeira because of that.
The takana would disqualify women, Tana also from writing.
According to Rabbi Yehuda, not one part is allowed to be written before the actual get.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that would exclude. It would be against our previous Mishnah. Okay, line starts teref. Rabbi Elazar machshir b'kulan. Rabbi Elazar says they're all kosher in the bottom opinion of the Mishnah. Chutz mi gittin nashim, excluding gittin nashim, which are not permitted to do anything prior. Why? Tefis atu teref. The tefis, the non-important stuff, there's atu because of teref, because of the important stuff. Gazar, he made a decree that the tefis is going to act like the teref, that it's going to have to be spontaneous by a get. But shtaris atu gittin like Gazar, but the documents, because of the gittin, all the rest of the documents, because of gittin, like Gazar, do not have this decree. Therefore, other documents, if you write the tefis before the teref, what happens is there's no problem. There's no pasuk that says that a document has to be written lishma, and we don't make a decree because of gittin. So according to him, you're allowed to write the shtar prior, but the get has to be written spontaneous, the entire thing. Does that make sense? Anyone have questions? Okay, further, shenema, like it says, because of law. Now, my Gemara is telling me that these two dots don't really exist. They're not really two dots, because the Gemara is going to continue about this. Shenema, like it says, because of law, and he writes for her. It has to be lishma. That's the reason for all these three opinions. Either the teref has to be written spontaneous, or everything according to Rabbi Yehuda has to be spontaneous, or only the get has to be spontaneous according to Rabbi Elazar. That's the reason. Now, but when it says la, it was on the teref. It was written about the teref, the important stuff. So why are you telling me what's the reason for making the decree? Because of the pasuk. The pasuk only helps for some. Ella, rather, bottom line on the page, I'll say mishum shenemar, because it says because of law, and he should write it to her lishma, for her sake, which implies for her sake, because mishum shenemar, meaning we're making a decree. Why? Because of the pasuk about teref. Mishum, because a decree because of this, meaning it doesn't have to be talking about the teref. Can even be relevant to the tefis here. Now, turn the page now. Kasha di Rabbi Elazar ad Rabbi Elazar. It's a question of Rabbi Elazar because of Rabbi Elazar. Onto Rabbi Elazar. So what's our question?
Says
Our
Rabbi
question-
Elazar,
1 second. Our question is, Rabbi Elazar is arguing on the Tanakama. We established the Tanakama as Rabbi Elazar. And now Rabbi Elazar is saying a different opinion. So Rabbi Elazar is arguing on himself. So we answer, says the Gemara, the answer is Trei Tanoi, 2 Tanoim, Ve'aliba de Rabbi Elazar. And according to Rabbi Elazar, they're both arguing about what Rabbi Elazar said, and none of them are really Rabbi Elazar himself. They're all two maybe students or grand students of Rabbi Elazar. And they're arguing about what he says. Okay. Now, so we're gonna go. We're holding by the second line on the page. We're gonna go further now, dealing with why is there a problem to write the Torah in advance? To write let's say there's a scribe and he wants to write the whole town's Gittin. He has an extra night. Let's say he has some extra time. He writes the whole town's get. All the people that he thinks are going to come to him. He wants to be ready in advance. What's the problem? So the second line on the page, Rab Shabsi Amar Chizkiya. Rab Shabsi says in the name of Chizkiya, Mishum Kitata, because of a fight. Rabbi Meir, the Gemara is going to explain. And the Mishnah, our Mishnah, is Rabbi Meir. What's the reason of that you can't write the Teref? Because the Mishnah is Mishum Kitata, a fight, and it's Rabbi Meir. The Amar that says, Ede Chasima Karti, the edim of the signing they suffice for making the get work. The edim of the signing work. That means the actual text of the get is not so important. Okay, so technically, says the Gemara, ubedinhu technically, the afilu teref, that even the teref nami lichtev, he's also able to write. It's all not important. The chasima, the signing is important. So why do we have to be particular to not write the Torah in advance, the names in advance? Vizimnin, sometimes, the Shama Leila Sefer, you hear the Shama Lei, she hears the Sefer, the scribe, the Kaksiv. While he's writing, he's saying what he's writing. He's saying out loud that so-and-so is getting divorced to so-and-so. Visavra Ihu, and she is thinking, Ihu ka Amarle, that Ihu, the husband, is the one that told the scribe to write their get. The husband is trying to cheat on her behind her back. They have a law, and there will be to her kitata bahadei, a fight with him. She's gonna say, meaning the actual writing of the get was the cause that they even had shalom bayis problems in the first place. So he's good at his business, like the dentist giving out lollipops. Okay, we don't want more added divorces, added fights in amongst the Yidden, and therefore the scribe is not allowed to write anything in advance because maybe the wife is gonna start ruminating over why he's saying it. Okay.
Yeah,
So
blackmail too. It's like I wrote this get and I could use it whenever I want if you're out of line.
right, but this is just when the husband has no knowledge about it. This is in the scribe's private thing.
Oh,
The husband never actually told the scribe anything. We're just afraid that the wife is going to think too much about it. Don't think too much. That's the okay. Says the Gemara further. Line starts Gomer by the dot in mind. Rav Chisda Omar Avimi. Rav Chisda says in the name of Avimi, Mishum Takonas Agunais, because of the solution for Agunais. We don't want Agunais. An Aguna is someone that's not able to have a new husband. Okay, Amrila. Some say Rabbi Meir. Some say the author of our Mishnah, according to this, is Rabbi Meir. Amrila, and some say the author of our Mishnah, according to this, is Rabbi Elazar. Okay, now what's the reason? Amrila Rabbi Meir. The reason for those that say that the author of our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir, the Amar that says Ede Chasima Karti, that says the edim of the signing, Karti are enough. They're enough to make the get valid. Meaning that the actual text of the get is not important. As the Gemara says, technically, the afilu teref nami, even the Teref, the important stuff also, Nami Lichtev, he's also allowed to write it. However, what's the problem with the scribe writing the Teref before and then giving it to the husband? Vizimnin, and sometimes they have a lekitata bahada, that he has a fight with her. Verotach Allah, and he gets rotach, it means boiling mad. Rotach is scalding, very hot, very hotly mad at her. Vizarik leini hala, and he throws to her the get. Le refers to it over here, the get. Ume'agin umaisivla, and that makes her be an aguna.
Is that like estranged, like they're married but they're separated?
It means that they're officially divorced, but unofficially she can't marry anyone. So
You need 3 months.
but there's actually 2 explanations here. Ume'agin umaisivla could either mean that she actually becomes divorced, which that in itself is a problem, and that's called an aguna for some reason. Another explanation is that he throws it to her, and it's between him and her, and it's a doubt if it reached her. Since it's a doubt if it reached her, she's not allowed to marry a new husband now. Okay. Further, that's Rabbi Meir's opinion. According to Rabbi Meir's opinion, that says Idi Chasim Makarti, the signers are the most important ones. So what's going to happen is he's going to throw her a get that he had signed on that day. And because it's so easy, okay, Amila, others say Rabbi Lazar, the author of our Mishnah is Rabbi Lazar. And the reason is Mishum Takanas Agunes, the Amar that says Edim Misira Karti. That says, what's the reason? Because the edim of the passing karti are suffice for the get, ubedinu, and technically, the afilu tefis nami leilichtev, even any part he should also not write. Right? The passing of the get is important. That means the actual text has to be very important. And now the tefis, he also shouldn't write it, but because of aguna, we're going to see he's allowed to. Vizimnin, and sometimes deboi that he wants. The line starts deboi. Lemezal, he wants to go. Lemdina sayam, to overseas. Vilay ashkach safra, and he doesn't find the scribe. Vishavik la, and he just leaves her. No scribe, or he finds a scribe, but the sefer doesn't have time. He leaves her. V'azil, and he goes. Uma'agan, now she's in aguna. He already went overseas. There's no trains and airplanes now. And he lets her sit in aguna. So therefore, we allow the tapis to be written in advance. Does this make sense? Anyone have questions? Okay.
Just that I'm confused about where this ends up. It seems to have very, very strong reasons to write in advance and very strong reasons to forbid it.
Right.
I don't know where this ends up. And maybe the Gemara doesn't come to a conclusion here.
You are right. According to Mishum Aguna, because of this problem of maybe she's not going to be able to remarry, according to that, we actually have no idea who the author of our Mishnah is. Could be Rabbi Lazar, it could be Rabbi Meir. There's no way of knowing because they have the same halacha. And we explained there's different reasons for the same halacha.
Mm-hmm.
But Rabbi Lazar's reason is because we don't want it to be too hard to write the get, and really nothing should have been written, but we make it easier. Rabbi Meir is the opposite. Really everything could have been written, but we don't want fights. We don't want fights to happen, and he'll turn her into an aguna.
So is this whole discussion on this page in the previous Daf, is this all rabbinic? Is this derisa? Or is this all rabbinic trying to put the gloss on this whole issue about what can be done early and what can't? And its rollover to Staros Kovos. Is this all rabbinic?
It sort of is midiraisa. The pasuk says because of law it has to be written lishma, and the machlekes about which part has to be written lishma. Do the edim suffice, or does the actual text have to be written lishma? Right? That's a midiraisa.
Uh-huh.
The reason of mishum aguna, mishum ketata, mishum takana sefer, they're all midrabanan.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, further by the two dots. Umakim hazman, and the place of the time. Now, why is that important to not be written in advance? Kapasik vitani, he paskins and teaches. He says straight and teaches. Loishnam in anisurin, no difference if it's from the full marriage. The nisurin is the last stage of marriage. Veloishnam in erusin, and no difference if it's just a divorce from erusin, which is the first stage of marriage. We do both in the same shot, but in the olden days there was a whole year, let's say, in between, and they're considered erusin married, and now he's giving her a get. And now, Bishlama, it is good min hanisuin from the full marriage. Bein lemand amar. Why? Because we had a machlekes. There's two opinions. Bein lemand amar. Whether according to the one that says, what's the reason that the time has to be written properly? Mishum basachese, because of the daughter of his sister. Basically, he married someone that's really related to him, and he favors her. Now, if she cheats on him, she marries. She has relations with another person while they're married to each other, which is very illegal. No one should ever do that. So he's gonna favor her. He's gonna want her to stay alive, and he's gonna say, "When was my get written? My get was written a year ago." Yeah, to protect her. So they're divorced. To have relations with someone while no one here is married, not as much of a problem. Okay. So that's according to one opinion. The other opinion is because of fruits. The husband is gonna eat a lot of fruits from the niksei malug of the wife, and he's gonna say that the time was off. That really he was allowed to have those fruits. Okay. Now, so bein man amar mishum peri ika. Line starts bein. Ela min ha'erisin, but from the erisin, it's not going to work. Bishlama, it is good. Leman amar mishum basachesei, according to the one that says that it's because of the daughter of his sister. That's who the husband is. The wife is. Ika, there is a problem. He is going to favor her if she cheats on him. But according to the other opinion, Mishum Peri, the reason for this man is because of the fruits. Arusa mi isla Peri. Does the Arusa have mi isla? Is there to her Peri fruits? She's not considered involved in the marriage enough to have these fruits. Therefore, the Mishum Peri is not a factor.
It's not like the dowry.
So according to that opinion, we actually have no reason at all to write the time on the get. The time on the get is unnecessary. Why? Because if the only reason is because of the fruits, the fruits don't get involved in this stage of marriage yet. So there's no reason to write the time now. Further, Miyasa Peri, is there to her fruits? Line starts law. Amar Rav Amram, says Rav Amram, he answers, Ha Milsa, this matter, Shmois Minei Deula. I heard this matter from Ula. The Omar, or we can derive from that of Ula. Minei Deula, from that of Ula. The Omar that Ula said, the Omar that said, Mishum Takonas Vlad. Ula said, what's the reason for the Zman, the writing the time only at the proper time? Because of the solution for the child. V'layadana, I don't know. My nihu, what is the solution for the child? Why is there a problem if why is there a problem for the child if the time isn't there? So Kevandish Ma'isa, since I heard L'ha Tanya, to this that was taught in the Brisa, Ha'omer, one that says, Kisvu get la arusasi, write a get for my arusa, which is the first stage of marriage. Why should you write the get for the arusa, the almost full wife? Because for when I fully marry, agreshena, I will divorce her then. One that tells a scribe to write that with that intent, he's not going to give it to her until after the nisuin. Ina get is not a get. That's what the Brisa says. Now Ula comes and explains this Brisa. Why is one that says such to the Sefer to write the get for the Arusa marriage in order to give it by the Nisuin marriage? Why is that a problem? Answer is Ula. Amar Ula, ma tam. What's the reason? Gzeira, it's a decree. Shema Yemru, maybe they'll say Gita, her get, Kaidim Livna, came before her son. Meaning she became a Nisuin. She got the full marriage. And then she had relations with the husband. And then he gives the get. And comes a year later, they have a kid. So whose kid is from? I'm not sure. Maybe he gets right. He wants to say that he once had a nisuin. I don't know why. There's no. Maybe he in order to do certain stuff, privileges and being a citizen, maybe. Okay. So the problem over here is they're going to say that the son came after the get, which is not true, but there's almost no way of knowing. But also the time is off. When was the time? By the Erisin. So everyone's going to see it's very, very clear. This child was born after the get. It's clear on the document. Not only that, it was more than a year. It's a year and a half after the original writing. Okay, further. The last Hachinami, line starts Shema. Hachinami here too. Gzeira, it's a decree. Shema Yemru, maybe they'll say Gita Kedem Livna, that her get came before her son.
To nullify the get, maybe if they have relations.
No, because the get was never given to her. It was only given to her much later. Sometime before the child's birth, or maybe even after the child's birth.
So if you have the wrong date on the get, it's not valid get?
Yeah. And we're saying what's the reason? Because even by Narusa there was a problem. It's a big chiddush, but the Arusa has a problem of a decree. We're making a decree that an Arusa is never able to not write the time on the get. Why? Because of this decree, maybe she'll only give it by the Nisuin, and there will be a problem of suspecting the child of being a mamzer. Any questions?
So this whole discussion is about when there's Nisuin, it's not Arusa. The issues come up with Nisuin.
Right. The main discussion is Nisuin. But the reason why Arusa is a problem of not writing the time properly is because of this decree. We're making a decree. We're afraid this case is going to happen. So even if this case is not going to happen, he's giving it to her for good now by Erisin, but without the time proper, without the time that is the day of the writing. It's invalid because of this decree. We're so afraid of this case. This case could ruin a person for life. Okay, further. Omar Abzeira, line starts Shema by the new sugya. Omar Abzeira, says Abzeira, Omar Abba Barshila, in the name of Rav Abba Barshila. Omar Rav Hamnuna, in the name of Rav Hamnuna Sava, the old Rav Hamnuna. In the name of Omar Rav Adda Ba'ava, in the name of Rav, going back to the earliest Amira. We're saying halacha kirabi Elazar, says Rav, and his student of the student is saying the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar. Okay, now Kari Rav Alei de Rabbi Elazar. Rav called out about this of Rabbi Elazar. Tuvini de Hakimi, Tuvina de Hakimi, the best of the Chachamim. He really likes this halacha of Rabbi Elazar. It's specific to this halacha though. Okay, now says the Gemara. Nami question mark. Even in the rest of the stories also. What did Rabbi Elazar say about the other stories? That the teifes does work, and the tarif doesn't work. Tarif is not allowed to be written earlier. It says the Gemara, but says Rav Papi Mishmei de Rava. Hi Ashrasa Dedaini. This Ashrasa Dedaini. Before we go further, I want to point out this that Rav called out about Rabbi Elazar, the best of the Chachamim, refers to the it could refer to both the Tanakama and the actual Rabbi Elazar that says Rabbi Elazar. It referred to both. The thing over here is that we're saying the teifis is allowed to be written before the tarif, and especially by shar shtaris, by the rest of the shtaris. So it's especially by the second case of Rabbi Elazar, second halacha. Okay. Further, the line starts Rav Papi, but says Rav Papi Mishmei de Rava, in the name of Rava, Hi Ashrasa de Daini, this verification document of the Dayanim. What's an Ashrasa? Basically, there's Edim come in. So, there's a certain document, and on the document says the names of the Edim, and on top of that, there's a paper attached that says the kashrus seal. We have verified that these Edim actually exist. They're not from the AI. They're actual people. And they came and we verified that they're kosher Edim. Okay. So that's what an Ashrasa Dedaini is. The Ashrasa of the Dayanim, the verification of the Dayanim. Says the Gemara, line starts with Daini, the Michtava that was written, Mikamei, before Dili Sa'adu Sa'adi, before the Edim testified that about their signatures. So the ashrasa, the verification, is psula if it was written before that the edim actually came. Why is it pasul? Al ma'isi mechzi keshikra. What's the reason that it's pasul? It's because it looks like it's sheker. Hachanami here too. Mechzi keshikra. Let it be the reason because it looks like sheker. Now, if it looks like sheker, if that's the reason, it'll go against everything that we learned. Who would the halacha be like if it's because of mechzi keshikra? That it looks like it's sheker? I'm not sure, but we gave various reasons to why the teifis has to be is allowed to be written earlier, and the tarif has to be written spontaneous, and they're all not because of mechzi keshikra. So now we're bringing a proof over here that because of the ashrasa dedaini, what's the reason that they're not allowed to be written earlier? Because of mechzi keshikra looks like sheker. So we say, it says the Gemara doesn't like this idea. Velesa, we don't like this idea that it's because of mechzi keshikra. Midar Rav Nachman, not that the ashrasa dedaini is the ashrasa dedaini is allowed to be because of mechzi keshikra. That actually doesn't sit well to write the get, to write that we verified certain people before they came. Velesa, and by a get, it's not because of mechzi keshikra. Velesa, it's not because of that. Midar Rav Nachman, because of how I learned this out from the teaching of Rav Nachman. The Omer Rav Nachman says Rav Nachman, Rabbi Meir used to say, it was his common saying, Afilu mitzay ba'ashba, even if you found the get in the garbage, in the trash, chasmai, and he signed it, v'nasnei la, he got it signed by two people on the street, V'nasnei and he gave the get to her. Kosher, the get is kosher. So what this shows is we're not afraid of sheker, because from such a document, looks like it was ancient. You could tell the paper was in the medieval times. You can tell that it's sheker, and nevertheless, the get is a good get because of the signers, according to Rabbi Meir, are good, and the signers were writing Lishma, so it's good.
There was a heter also that if a couple goes out of town and there is no one to write it, like there's no one
Right.
knowledgeable enough to write the get, then you can write it beforehand.
Right, exactly.
Also.
Right, like we said. Further. So line starts kosher. Now this statement of Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Meir, even the Rabbanan don't argue about him, about this, the Rabbi Meir of Rabbi Meir, Ella begiti nashim, only regarding the gittim of women. Why do they argue on Rabbi Meir? According to Rabbanan, we need the writing to be lishma. And they're going to say, if you find a get in the garbage, doesn't count. You have to write it from scratch. At least the teiref, the names have to be written lishma. So they argue about the writing lishma. Aval b'shar shtareis, but by the rest of documents, they do not say that the writing has to be lishma. Rather, they say that the entire thing is allowed to be not lishma. At least the tefis is allowed to be completely not. No, apparently these Rabbanon are not the Rabbanon that we learned in our Mishnah. They say that the entire get is allowed to be written. It has to be written, by other shtares, nothing of it has to be written lishma. That could be these Rabbanon, but before they figured out about this decree. It's before the decree. Meaning the decree of shtaris because of Gittin. Okay, further. The Omar Ravasi that says Ravasi, Omar Rabbi Yechanan, in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, we're bringing a proof over here that Mechzi Keshikra is not a problem. The third to bottom line on the page, Shtar Shalava Ufra'i, a document, says he, a document that he borrowed with Uprai and paid him back. The din is, he doesn't go back and borrow with it. Why? Because the enslavement that is imposed because of this document was already forgiven. Once it was given back.
The lien that this document calls on property has been extinguished, so that's why it can't be used again.
Right. It's no longer valid. It expired, right? Once the payment happened.
Yeah.
So the case is, so let's read until the end. The reason is because the enslavement, the lien was forgiven because of the returning of the money to the original owner, the lender. That's the reason that you can't reuse it, because it was already forgiven. But because of falseness, we're not concerned. Meaning, if it wasn't for the fact that the lien was forgiven, he would have been allowed to reuse it. So basically, if I borrow money from someone for 10 years and I pay him back in 1 year, I would technically be allowed to re-borrow from him a few more times within the course of the 10 years. Yeah, even 1,000,000 times. But because of Nimchal Shibud, it was forgiven, it doesn't work. But we're not afraid of that we'll think he's lying. That's not a factor. Rather, the factor is the three reasons that we mentioned for the tefis being allowed to be written in advance. Okay, Yeshikach.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
And zooming, thank you for zooming.
Okay, thank you.